Hey everybody, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. Today I have an industry story for you, as we would say, back in the day industry story, because people do ask me fairly often what it was like to be in the industry during what was probably the peak of the bodybuilding industry when, as far as popularity, the magazines, the supplement industry really, blooming. I mean, it's bigger now than it was, but it's a completely different animal, different industry today. And I was lucky enough to really be part of that. That's Facebook, somebody pinging me. So I was lucky enough to be part of all that. And I do get people asking me questions a lot about what it was like and who did I meet and all that. So below this video, I'll link to an article outlining like some of my other stories, people that I've met, and Stallone and Arnold and people like that you might have fun with. But I have a story for you. So I posted something on Facebook recently, which was a quote I like to use, which is, to paraphrase myself, my opinion is not that my opinion is not for sale, it's just you don't have enough money to buy it, which is sort of actually comes from an experience I had in the 90s. So I was at the Olympia, this was like 96 or 97. Madison Square Garden. That's how big that show used to be. It could actually not fill, but it could definitely put a lot of people in Madison Square Garden. And you don't see even the Miss Olympia used to be at Madison Square Garden. By the way, that's how big bodybuilding was at one time. So I'm at the Olympia. I think it was 96 or 97, and one of the really well-known companies at the time, and I'm not going to name names, but anybody that was reading the magazines back at that time will know who I'm talking about. They were a well-known company. They had really big splashy ads. Their claims were like way over the top, which kind of annoyed science types like me, but you know who they were. So they approached me at the show and said, let's go out to lunch, we'll buy you lunch, we want to talk some business, we read your stuff, so on and so forth. I mean, at the time, like I say, I had a monthly column in Muscle Mag International. I had written for all the magazines at one time or another. It was a regular in Muscle Mag and Muscle Media, Muscular Development, and so forth. So we go out to lunch, and the guys from the company say, you've got a really good reputation, you've got a really good following. What we'd like to do is pay you, a fee to say nice things about our products in your monthly column, and we'll even pay you extra for like any dedicated articles you would do. We don't want you to be overt about it. We want you to kind of make it obvious. But now obviously what they were asking me to do was to use my hard-earned reputation to sell product, and they said we'll pay you 10 grand per article. Now 10 grand per article, was a lot of money in the mid-90s. It was a lot of money per article. I had never been paid 10 grand per article in the 90s. The most I had gotten paid at that time was, I think, around 4 grand. And that was rare. I mean, very few people got paid, again, 4 grand per article, other than a couple of, the best known names. But most of the time, you were looking at, $300, $400. That was like the going rate for articles in most of those magazines. Again, depending on who you were, which magazine and all that. So 10 grand an article was a lot of money, and I think they thought, by the look on their face at the table, I have no doubt they thought I was going to jump at this. But the first thing that I thought of, really, the reality was, it's going to take, I figured it would take 3, maybe 5 articles at most before people realized that I was shilling for a company and completely ruin my reputation. I mean, and by ruining your reputation, I mean, I had consulting contracts at the time, so that would be the end of those. I don't really see how any of the other magazines would really have wanted to take my articles to print at that point, and so forth. And so I said, that's not enough money. I mean, I said, look, if I'm going to ruin my reputation, which I really didn't like the idea, and I want to go back a little bit also. I had also had a good reputation. I walked a very fine line, which I still do, between consumers as a consumer advocate and the scientific community and the medical community, which I really cherish. It was really important to me, and it still is. I mean, I think I'm one of the rare people who was certainly able to do that at the time, and still able to do it now. And, you know, like I said, that was really, really important to me. I'd worked really hard to have a good reputation. Being really careful with your reputation, however, costs money, because a lot of things you just have to turn down or walk away from that, you know, could make you a lot of money. But I always felt, for the most part, it's short-lived. You know, it's a short view. You make some money up front, but then again, you know, various things are going to dry up on you. So getting back to we're sitting having lunch. The guys from the company offered me 10 grand an article. And I said, look, if I'm going to risk my reputation, probably ruin my reputation, I'm not going to do it for anything less than 100 grand an article, because you guys will make millions. And if I don't walk away with $300,000, $500,000, I'm not interested. Now, that was intentionally sort of I'm not going to do it price, but you know, you never know. Now, in retrospect, to be honest with you, that was actually not enough money. You know, again, in the mid-90s, at that age, you know, 300 grand, 500 grand sounded like a lot of money to me. And it's not a small amount of money, but it's not FU money. It's not, you know, I don't have to work in this industry ever again because I've got enough money to live on money. But at the time, it seemed like a lot of money. And if they had said yes to it, I don't really know what my answer would have been. You know, I got to be honest with you. I may or may not have done it. But regardless, what I should have asked for was probably $1 million an article, because, okay, mid-90s, walk away with $3 to $5 million. Okay, that's FU money at the time. You could live off that. You could put it in an annuity, or, you know, if you're really careful with it, you could probably, at the time especially, you could have, I guess, lived off the interest, because the interest rates were pretty good then. So in retrospect, you know what? Even a 100 grand article was not enough money considering what it would have cost me. So, you know, they said, you know, thanks, but no thanks. You know, we're not going to spend that kind of money. You know, we shook hands, and they were good guys. I mean, I'm not really trying to throw them under the table. You know, as far as they were concerned, you know, business is business. These were not science-based people. These were business-based people, which is 98% of the industry, frankly. So, like I said, they're nice guys. I mean, I have nothing negative to say about them, as some people obviously figure out what company I was talking about at the time. And what they did was they went to somebody else who was pretty well known. They were not as well known maybe as I was at the time, and they were not science-based, but they had a good reputation, and people knew who he was. And I don't know what they offered him. I wasn't there, but, you know, after they talked to me, he started writing, again, glowing articles about their products in Muscle Mag, and, you know, and as far as I could tell, his reputation was destroyed. I mean, he was not writing in other magazines after that. I don't really know, like, say, if the guy ever had any, like, other contracts outside of writing for supplement companies or whatever, you know, as I did, doing R&D and product development and marketing help and that type of thing. But they did it somewhere else. I don't know what they offered him. It seemed to me like he took it because I started to see exactly the type of articles they wanted me to write, and from what I could tell, it tanked his reputation pretty much from there on in. So whatever he made at the time and he walked away with obviously was not enough. So there's an industry story. Back in the day, you know, peak of the business, peak of the industry, bit of a backdoor, you know, behind the scenes story for you. And there's some more link below. And if you like it, sub up, hit the likes, and I'll see you all on the Brink Zone.